Are you one of those people that has a dream of living in Colorado? Roam the Rockies without a worry in the world? Well, you might want to slow your roll, John Denver, and watch this video. Today we're looking at things you should know and understand before you call a moving truck heading to Colorado. We aren't looking at the things that have been done to death on YouTube by AI channels. We're not talking about the high cost of living in Denver, Boulder, and Aspen. We won't discuss the homeless in Denver or wildfire season. We all know that. No reason to go over it again. We're digging deeper. Let's take a look. Number 10, the beer hits faster. That's right, if you go to Denver or in most places in Colorado and start having a couple drinks, it's gonna hit a lot faster. So be careful. I mean, you don't wanna go there, you're used to drinking a few beers with friends down at sea level, and then you go up there, and next thing you know, you're snot slinging drunk out of the same amount that would give you a nice little buzz in Southern California. Your body gets less oxygen, alcohol hits much quicker, and hangovers feel twice as brutal. Your body works harder and processes substances differently when oxygen is thin. You also have faster absorption. Lower atmospheric pressure changes how your circulatory system absorbs and distributes alcohol. And the third strike for your alcohol-fueled fest in Denver, dehydration. High-altitude air is very dry, which speeds up dehydration and worsens the overall impact of drinks. So if you go up there for a business trip or something like that and decide you're gonna have 2 or 3 drinks, don't embarrass yourself because it's gonna feel like you had 4 or 5 drinks, you started acting a fool, and you got fired while you're in Denver. One thing leads to another, and you're living on the streets of Denver, addicted to high altitude beers. Number 9, some neighborhoods are sitting over old mines. Now, Colorado's mining history didn't disappear when the miners left. There are developed areas in parts of Colorado that are above abandoned coal mines. Now, is this gonna take away the whole subdivision as it collapses into the earth and we never see these people again? Nah, it's not that dramatic. You might get sagging ground, sinkholes, and collapsing shafts. Back in the day, they didn't really keep old mine records as accurate as we would today. So you really don't know exactly what happened underneath your peonies or marigolds, whatever those are. This was a big problem in Butte, Montana back in the 1950s. I mean, they still have some problems these days. It's very rare that they'll have a sinkhole, but they're there. Well, same thing's going on in Colorado. So the moral of this story is if you're thinking about buying real estate in Colorado, drive around the neighborhood, look for sagging pavement, look for ground that's been roped off by red cones and warning signs. Now, any realtor is going to tell you about this stuff, so don't worry about it too much, but before you get too involved and find that beautiful house you've always dreamed of, look around, make sure they're not having any problems or they haven't had any problems. This is rare. I'm not saying that it's something that happens every week, but you don't want to have to deal with this if it does happen. Number 8, mountain road closures can turn into an absurd detour. If nobody clued you in on this yet, Colorado is half Rocky Mountains. And if you don't know, the Rocky Mountains get a lot of snow. I mean, that's why they have some of the greatest skiing on earth and some of the most crazy expensive ski towns. Aspen, Telluride, Vail, Breckenridge, all these places are extremely expensive and sometimes the roads get shut down. And here's the problem with Colorado's mountains. They don't always provide convenient parallel roads. When a canyon corridor gets blocked, the alternate route isn't necessarily take the next exit. Sometimes the geography simply laughs at your GPS and your GPS is going, I don't know what to do. Now, obviously, a majority of the time this is going to happen in winter, probably about 90-something%. But during the non-winter seasons, sometimes they have mudslides, rock slides, an elk that won't get out of the road. Now, if you come from a mountainous area, you know this is just common sense. Sometimes roads get blocked and they don't have 12 different routes to get out of there in the mountains. But not everyone has had that experience, and this video is kind of, let you know what you're in for if you do want to move to Colorado. Obviously, if you get in the Boulder, Colorado Springs, Denver area, that's more flat and more urban, so they're going to have more people working on the roads to keep them clear during bad weather. If you've never lived in the mountains, it's a different breed of animal. This is something I always worry about for retirees, especially if they have to get to an appointment. Driving down the mountain and all of a sudden a road's closed, sitting there for 3-4 hours or have to turn back, yeah, it's a bit of a problem. Number 7, hiking isn't easy. Even living near great hiking doesn't mean you can just go up to the mountains whenever you want and start hiking. Places like the Rocky Mountain National Park requires what they call timed entry reservations. That goes from May 22nd through mid-October. You could set up your appointment basically to go hiking at recreation.gov. But yeah, it's a thing. You just can't go up into like Rocky Mountain National Park and start hiking. I'm sure there are some places where you could just get off the road and do that, and that usually comes with after you've lived there a while, you learn about these great spots, or you get on one of those apps that tell you where the best trails are. I would suggest that. I've used one for places around Oregon when I was first living here. They were very helpful, but these days, you also got to worry about places that are overcrowded. That's another thing you want to talk to locals with. Like if you start going to REI or if you go to some other equipment place, make sure you talk to the locals when you first get there and find out where the good spots are to go. Doesn't that just seem crazy to everyone that you actually have to set up an appointment to go enjoy the great outdoors? Isn't that part of the allure of the great outdoors, is to actually just show up and do it casually? I mean, we got enough appointments down in a city. You go up the mountains, you want to get away from it all, but now you're checking your phone to see what time your appointment is to actually go walk in the woods. Don't get me wrong, I understand the reason. These places get totally crowded and they're trying to keep the impact to the environment as low as possible, but it just seems weird to me. Going over the plan with your wife, okay, well, we get to check in at 11:30, our hike starts at 12:08, and then we actually have scheduled 2 bathroom breaks along the way, one at 1:15 and the other one at 3:30. We got a little gap there, so we want to make sure we hold it and not drink too much water along the route. Now, there are other places in Colorado that require this. Brainerd Lake requires timed vehicle reservations, and El Dorado Canyon require timed entry on weekends and summer holidays during the busy season. Number 6. Secure your trash cans. Trash management can become wildlife management any given morning. In bear country, they recommend wildlife-resistant containers, secure enclosures, and even cleaning empty trash cans because the smell will draw in bears. And I'm sure raccoons and everything else, but you gotta have secure lids or they're gonna get in your trash. Your trash is gonna go everywhere, and God knows what they're gonna get into. We've all seen 1 or 2 videos online of a raccoon with his head stuck in a mason jar. Now, again, this is one of those things that if you're from Colorado or Alaska or someplace with a lot of wilderness, this is just common sense to you. But remember, not everyone has lived outside of cities or in places where they might even think about this. I was, I think, 22, 23, and I was in the Army with a guy from Wyoming, and he mentioned that. That was the first time I ever heard of anything like that. Just before you leave your comment, keep in mind that all of us haven't had the same life or the same experiences. But yeah, that is something you have to consider before you move to Colorado. Obviously, if you're downtown Denver, you got to worry about homeless more than bears, but if you get on the outskirts, you're eventually going to see something like that. Number 5, mountain towns can be surprisingly isolated from each other. 2 towns that look close on a map may be separated by a pass, a canyon, or a seasonal route. That affects doctors, shopping, schools, airports, visiting friends, and even where you're willing to go for dinner. This kind of piggybacks off the whole closed road thing. When you're looking at a map and you're thinking about moving someplace in the Rockies, you see these 2 towns that aren't too far away from each other. Well, what that map might not tell you at first glance is that there is a canyon, there is some kind of river between you and them, and they don't have any bridges. Or you're at totally 2 different elevations. Study the map and kind of really get an idea of how far away things are before you settle on a town somewhere in the mountains. You don't want to set up a Tinder date and find out the town that you could see at the bottom of the hill actually takes an hour to get to. It's not that drastic, but you get what I'm saying. I had that problem when I lived in Central America. I'd set up a date with some girl I met someplace, then find out that her little town isn't that far away. It just happens to be across a river, and you got to go 20 miles out of your way to find the bridge. That's another thing that people from cities don't take into consideration. They're worried about things like, ooh, you live in that neighborhood? Maybe I won't come pick you up tonight. Number 4, hydration. Newcomers quickly learn that water vanishes from your body at 5,280 feet and above. 1 drink feels like 3, and dry sinuses mean you need a constant supply of saline spray. This is no joke. Your nose, if you're not used to it, it'll be in pain because you're not used to the level of dryness. Everyone assumes that a desert is the driest place on the earth. You get up in the mountains and it gets pretty dry. And it's the air. It's not just the heat, it's the air itself. And then I said I wasn't going to talk about the basics, but then they get some pretty bad air quality on top of it when they do have the wildfire season. This also plays into the whole alcohol drinking thing. You'll be dehydrated and not realize how dehydrated you are until you're used to living there. The one thing that really bothers me when I go to Colorado is the dry sinuses. Your nose just aches. It's like back home, a humidifier or something you'd buy when you have a cold. In Colorado, sometimes you're sitting 6 inches away from it whispering, "Don't ever leave me." Yeah, real estate agents never warn you that mountain air can make the inside of your nose feel like two pieces of sandpaper rubbing together. Number 3, understanding Instagram Colorado is different than reality Colorado. The dream of Colorado can disappear once ordinary life begins. Colorado is just one of those places you go there for a vacation, you hit the breweries, alpine lakes, ski villages, and then day-to-day life seeps in once you move there. You got radon tests, winter watering, moth invasions, tire regulations, peel boxes, weird dirt, and occasionally wondering whether an animal blocking your driveway could kill a Subaru. It's just something people don't realize. Colorado is extremely beautiful and they have this dream and they see pictures and they watch movies and YouTube videos and they get this image of Colorado probably more than any other state. You know, people aren't watching videos about Nebraska going, "Oh, someday I'm going to hike through that cornfield and I'm going to take the most glorious picture of the highway as it goes by the cornfield." It's not like that. Colorado is that dream, but sometimes they don't realize that dream and that image they have in their head is not the reality. To a degree, this can be said about any state or anywhere you move. You go there with these hopes and these dreams, and you get there and it's just life in a different location. You're not just buying in Colorado, you're buying a dream you've had. You ever had that happen? Let me know in the comment section. You move someplace expecting it to be one thing, and then you just realize it's just life in a new location. Let me know in the comment section. Number 2, Eastern Colorado isn't what John Denver was singing about. Whenever anyone sees pictures of Colorado, they see the Front Range, which is where you'll find Denver, Boulder, Colorado Springs, and Fort Carson. Now, that's just a little east of the middle of the state. The rest of the state going west is the Rocky Mountains, and that's what everyone thinks about when they think about Colorado. Nobody dreams of moving to Eastern Colorado. No one's ever written down in their diary, "I can hardly wait to get out of this town and move to Kit Carson, Colorado." It just doesn't happen. You see, Eastern Colorado is basically Nebraska, but it seems a little drier. Out there you'll find prairies and miles and miles and miles of farmland. You'll also find a lot of dying towns that are begging you to move there. So there is a little appeal because it is dirt cheap compared to the rest of Colorado. Matter of fact, you can go to some of the towns out in Eastern Colorado and find decent homes, livable I should say, for under $150,000. They got one right now that looks like it's livable. 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, and a nice fireplace. Sure, it's old, it looks livable. I'm not out there checking the plumbing and the wiring, but it looks livable. $135,000. Oops, I'm sorry, that's actually in Kansas. You know why I made that mistake? Because you can't tell the difference. Shannon Springs is really close to the border. But you go up the road to Burlington, Colorado, and you can find homes there for about $174,000. $200,000 seems to be the sweet spot in that town. And as we've learned on this channel and many other channels, if it's cheap, there's a reason for it. And the biggest reason is it's flat, there's nothing to do in any of these towns, and it's out in the middle of frickin' nowhere. You can buy a nice house in Yuma, Colorado out there, and it's only $170,000 and it looks nice. The sad thing is, people that move to Yuma are usually the people that have given up on all their dreams. It's the type of place where retirees go to just live out their final years and do exciting stuff like hide dentures while the other person's sleeping. So yeah, Eastern Colorado's not what anyone's looking for. All right, before we get to number 1, let me know in the comment section, has anything on this list changed your mind about Colorado? All right, on to number 1. And number 1. The locals hate you. If you read the comment section of any of my videos about any state, you're going to see a certain amount of people telling you not to move there. They're full. They don't want you. All that nonsense. Or my favorite is, don't come here and start voting for the things that screwed up your state. Well, first of all, only about 58% of Americans actually vote in a presidential election, and in midterms, it's not even 50%. So they're not bringing much of anything because they don't care. Not everyone thinks politics 24/7, but that seems to be the biggest thing people talk about in the comment section when they're telling people not to move there. Colorado has been overrun for decades though, and the locals and the born and raised there, they're a little bit tired of it. But a lot of them are only there like first or second generation. They're the type of people that pull up the ladder from the boat once they get on. I forget what comedian said it. It might have been Billy Crystal, but he said his grandfather hated immigrants even though he was an immigrant. It's like he got his paperwork stamped at Ellis Island, turned around to everyone else in line behind him and said, "Get off my lawn!" So yeah, if you move to Colorado, just keep in mind the locals aren't as excited about you making that leap of faith that you're so proud of and got out of your bubble. They wanted you to stay in your bubble back in Arizona. Alright, that's today's video. What'd you think? Would you move to Colorado? Let me know in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, I know you're going to love this one right here. It's about states you should stay away from. Everyone have a great day. Be nice to each other.